Hello everyone, Thijs here again, and this time with a new card reveal. This time we're gonna do our second part of it, where there were a lot of new cards already revealed from the Frozen Throne. And we're gonna give our second look at a lot of the cards, and the first look on a lot of cards. So, the first cards we're gonna start with is the Hadronox. Hadronox, 9 mana, 3/7. Beast card for the Druid. The Druid Legendary has been revealed. So, when I already started to look at this card directly, of course I thought directly about ZeForte, where it summons all minions that died this game, where it doesn't have the Death Rattle effect. It this time is having the Taunt effect, and it's a Druid card, so it's not for the Warrior, no, it's for the Druid. And there are a lot of Druid cards that are not synergizing with this, for example, Druid of the Claw, for example, the Ancient of War. But we have seen a little bit of the big Druid doing really good lately, and I think in that kind of deck, this card is big potential. I mean, the Death Rattle effect is just really powerful if you have a deck that requires a lot of taunts. Where the stats are a little weaker, it is also a little bit more safer to run this card than an Assault, because if you play it, yes, you need to power up the Death Rattle, but afterwards your board starts with taunt, so you make a defensive wall in a way. And that might be the way that you can make this card really work. The Druids lately, the really heavy ramp Druids, are lately also playing with the Dragon package of double Primeval Drake. What can be a great fit there? You can play with Tar Creepers, Dark Arakoa, so I see definitely great potential for this. Don't forget, there is some hidden synergy also in this card. Barns. Play Barns, and if you get the Hadronox a little bit later in the game, it can really swing the game around. You also have the way of that you can play the Anaconda. Well, that's not really often gonna work, but from these you can get new combos with getting Yashar, with getting Hadronox on the board. So there are a lot of hidden facts that you might not see directly in this card, but that are already in the game, that might make the card good enough to be played in the Constructed. Fatespinner! Alright boys, Fatespinner. And when I saw this card, I didn't even care too much what the stats were of how I would evaluate it. I saw a new mechanic getting into the game. Choose and Death Rattle. Deal 3 damage to all minions or give them +2/+2. So then I was reading the card again and deal 3 damage or give them +2/+2. Secretly. Where it might sometimes be obvious what your opponent is gonna pick because you are ahead on board or you're behind on board, so it's kinda obvious. It is a really cool effect to have now in Death Rattle that you can choose and Death Rattle to choose and your opponent doesn't know it. So really like to see this kind of concept also getting in Hearthstone. I hope there is gonna be a little bit more of these cards to see. But Fatespinner definitely makes me really hyped for the expansion just because of more mechanics, harder mechanics in the game. And as a 5 mana 5/3, choose a Death Rattle, deal 3 AoE, like maybe on itself it can already be really good in defensive Druid deck. So I will definitely give this card a try, and I think definitely he has nice potential to see play, because as a 5 mana 5/3 with a deal 3 damage to all minions, I feel already he can also fit in some control decks. Spreading, Spreading Plague. Summon a 1/5 Scarab with Taunt. If your opponent has more minions, cast this again. So I had to think a little bit about this card, but the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. With the potential of unlimited summoning Scarabs against token decks, it can be a really big asset tool for the more spell or the more ramp heavy Druids. What I now have been seeing for Druid is that it really goes in the late game direction. So it's really yeah, unleash the Scarabs in a way of making so many taunts. Where the card might not be the best against Pirate Warrior necessarily as an aggro deck, because Pirate Warrior has like only 1 or 2 minions. It can be really good. It can be really good against the Shamans, Paladins, all these classes that are a little bit more board oriented. One thing that I actually don't know, but that comes in my mind here: how is the synergy with Pyromancer? How is the synergy with Auctioneer? Because if I read it correctly, if your opponent has more minions, cast this again. So you cast the spell again. I am not completely sold on this. How I read it, it kind of feels it makes a little bit sense, but I think it only counts one. But otherwise, little bit hard to get out of this reading. If your opponent has more minions, cast this again. Does that mean that you can the spell gets cast again, the spell goes off again? I think it is only gonna be once, but how I read the card, I'm not so sure completely. Can definitely be that there is some synergy with that the spell goes again, that the Pyromancer gives you another proc, that an Auctioneer draws an additional card. I think it could have been a little bit more clear in the text. I don't think it's the case, but how I read it, it might make a little bit more sense. Anyway, I think this card is really great for the Druid. I think if you already, where 2 Scarabs might not be enough, I think once you are hitting the point where you can hit 3 Scarabs, the value is insane. It's really hard for your opponent to deal with. It's really annoying to have to waste 15 damage into just Scarabs that have 1 attack. So, great card. Really great card. One of the best cards revealed so far. And next we are going to the Hunter, where we already have seen 2 Hunter cards before. One was also the legendary for the secrets. We now have the epic here, the 7 mana 6/7, the Abominable Bowman. Death Rattle, summon a random friendly beast that died this game. So, really slow card. From the first perspective, really slow card. 7 mana 6/7. Gonna take some time for this. I mean, you play at turn 6/7, you just play like your Bull-the-Fist Ogre for 1 more mana, and there is just a Death Rattle. So yeah, where the effect can be really powerful, I tend to say that cards like this are just too slow. They are also, it's a random friendly beast, so there is quite a bit of range in a way. What is gonna get summoned here? It's really, like, it's hard for hunters to not play any early game. Hunter is a deck that cannot get back from the early game if they fall behind. So you also have to play Alley Cats. You have to play Razor Maul or some 3 drops and some 4 drops. So the value that you gain out of a Death Rattle, the card is not even a beast itself. Also something that makes the card much weaker. I don't think it's gonna be much play. The only way I see cards like this being probably really good is, well, let's get it from Barnes. Let's get it from Barnes, guys. And then cards like this have potential, but the consistency of the card is gonna hurt your deck too much to see play. Hunter also coming here with a new secret. A new secret joining Hunter. Venomstrike Trap. Secret: when one of your minions is attacked, summon a 2/3 poisonous cobra. So, really interesting new secret here for Hunter to gain quite good value for 2 mana out of the secret. We have seen now the Hunter card also where maybe there's potential of some secrets becoming cheaper. For now, I mean, it's a little bit hard to really evaluate secrets fully, but the value of this secret is definitely worth it, what the Hunter can do. It might be a little bit annoying for, because you have to attack the board from the Hunter. At some point you're not able to just ignore the board from the Hunter. That has great potential. It's not as easy to play around as a Snake Trap maybe, and I didn't like Snake Trap too much, and Snake Trap sometimes you had to play because it was the only secret that would really go off once you wanted to trade away minions. 2 mana, 2/3 poisonous cobra. I mean, normally we played 3 mana for this, so already have the opportunity to play it for 2 mana. I think this card is, I'm not sure if it's gonna make a Secret Hunter really there yet, but the card overall for 2 mana, it's definitely on the cat trick power level of one of the best secrets for Hunter. Bearshark! Look at this card, guys. A bear and a shark working together for the hunter. Well, where I am always suspicious towards hunter cards because I call them too slow. Or I say them, well, they are not fitting the problem, or they are not the solution for what hunter needs. Well, this isn't a card that hunter likes. This is a card that hunter might really find way more value from than you would expect from the start by just looking at this card. A 3 mana 4/3. It's kind of a little of a power creep where a lot of 3 mana cards are 3/3s. This is a 4/3. Hunter likes to be a little bit more aggressive, so Hunter definitely likes to have a little of a power minion creep. A power minion beast. It is a beast, so you have great beast synergy all around in the deck where you can connect with your cards that are buffing beasts. You can have kill command potential, and you just have all, it just stacks to the deck really well. The thing that it can be targeted by spell and hero powers is a really big thing. There are now Druids just cannot ref away this card. There are not Shamans that can Jade Lightning this card. The way of this card that is kind of strong for 3 mana is not being able to getting traded away by any spell. You have to trade away by minions or weapons. It's really gonna be a big upside that we should not underestimate. It's really a lot of decks are either based on tempo or about removal, and you can just lock a little bit down the removal classes with cards like this. Of course, it's still get a little bit with AoE, or you can like hit a deadly shot, or you go with a wind effect into fishes and the card dies. But I have good hopes for this card. I think cards like this are what Hunter likes. One problem might be the 3 slot. Hunter is already a little bit stacked in the 3 slot. Hunter is a really carless that already has great 3 drops with the Animal Companion, with the bow, with kill commands, with some other. There's just a lot in the 3 slot for other Hunter already. But I like this card. I think this is one of the cards that Hunter might like. And there we go, guys. One of the hero cards has been revealed. It is Frost Lich Jaina. Frost Lich Jaina. Where we cannot even see the best parts of this card, guys. Where we see all the new emotes that she is also bringing. Really, really evil emotes she is bringing. Of course, they had to be a little evil, considering the Frozen Throne and the Lich King history around it. But also Frost Lich Jaina is just really, really cool to see the evil version of Jaina. Jaina is a 9 mana card, so it isn't really one of the expensive hero cards. Frost Lich Jaina, Battlecry, summon a 3/6 water elemental. Your elementals have lifesteal this game. What you don't really see on this card is also you gain a new hero power. The new hero power of the Frost Lich Jaina is a 2 mana hero power. Deal 1 damage if you kill a minion. With the 2 damage or with the 1 damage you deal, you summon another water elemental. So there is a lot of potential of keep getting water elementals and getting a full board of water elementals with possible lifesteal. Also adding to the fact that other elementals might get lifesteal. So if you have a Pyrus or other you have a more elemental based mage deck, they also gain lifesteal out of this card. Definitely nice maybe to have an elemental on the board to play this. Where I'm just super hyped and where the value of this card is insane, and where I really also like that this card is adding a new concept to Mage, where mages can really go for this long value game. The only thing that worries me a bit is the mana cost of the card. We having a 9 mana card here that gives you 5 armor and summons a water elemental. But that's kind of compared to what how often we are getting into 9 mana. Just getting 5 armor, a little bit of a question if that's enough. I compared a little bit to Alexstrasza in a way, where Alexstrasza is the 9 drop being played in Mage a lot. And for 9 mana, you can either heal yourself a lot or put the pressure out to your opponent to try to kill them. this is really going, but this Frostlich Jaina is not gonna fit in that kind of decks. Frostlich Jaina is a concept on itself. You can cut all the burn concepts. If you're not playing a burn oriented deck and you play a defensive deck and then you have Frostlich Jaina, then there is great potential. You don't need to have win condition anymore really in your deck if you can now play with Frostlich Jaina. So that's the way you would like to play her. That's the way I can see her being played. And I think that's the way she would like to get played. And I will definitely try out Frostlich Jaina as the hero card of a mage. And the second legendary revealed for mage besides Frostlich Jaina, Sindragosa, became the mage. Well, we all knew that Sindragosa will probably become into this set. It was a really likely asset out of the whole, the Frozen Throne, the Lich King, that Sindragosa had to get therein, and it became the mage legendary Sindragosa. And Sindragosa summons two 0/1 Frozen Champions. The 0/1 Frozen Champions are having a death rattle of drawing you an additional legendary card. So the two Frozen Champions that are coming directly on the board, they will draw you a potential additional legendary. You don't really see it, but it's pretty powerful effect of having an 8 mana 8/8 dragon with two 0/1s on the board that giving you two new legendaries. I really see a different direction going into Mage nowadays, where Blizzard seems to want to go a little bit away of the burn-oriented Mage concept, what was around for 2-3 years, and now really adding that more value perspective to the Mage, where there are a lot of strong cards where the value becomes insane at some point, where it might be almost impossible to outvalue, and of course Mage can still rely on cards like Ice Block. So there are a lot of powerful effects that has great potential there for Mage. 8 mana 8/8 Battle Cry, summon 2/1/1. So the Battle Cry, normally Battle Cry minions are having a great concept of directly getting back in the game. This one is a little bit different because you gain 2 Frozen Champions. You of course also have to kill off your own Frozen Champions, you can of course do with your own hero power, but yeah, it might not be as obvious directly. You have to spend so mana on killing your Frozen Champions, but for that you draw additional legendaries. So you gain for both, you gain an additional legendary card. So in that way, the value of this card again a really insane value card for Mage. Mage just has one big worry, and that is that it might just be too late game heavy. That you need to have enough to survive the early game, to get into your Sindragosa, to get yourself into Jaina. But yeah, value wise, great card. Definitely one of the big legendaries that there are good reasons for to play. I think Sindragosa is really powerful. You have to make your Mage deck around it. Sindragosa is not gonna fit in the current Mage decks. I think Mage is going in a totally different direction, where you want to play your Mage deck with just a lot of removal, you cut all the burn, play with a lot of surviving abilities, and then cards like Sindragosa and Frostlich Jaina, then they can really shine. Doomed Apprentice. So where Mage of course has already an Apprentice, this time the Doomed Apprentice, the evil side of Jaina, really comes into the expansion. The evil side of first Frostlich Jaina, but also with the Apprentice going on the more evil side. Can we still trust Jaina in this one, guys? Well, where the other two cards I see great potential for, I don't see much potential for the Apprentice here. Your opponent's spells cost 1 more. It's kind of cool. It's kind of annoying maybe from time to time, but you don't want to pay 1 additional mana for this card. You are paying, where in 2 mana 3/2 this card could be alright. Then it will be on the Apprentice level, where it will still probably be worse than the normal Apprentice, because your spells becoming 1 cheaper is way more beneficial for you than your opponent's spell costing 1 more, because there are a lot of classes that just don't even care too much, that play a lot of minions, or you just kill up to 3/2 and your spells are normal cost again. So even for 2 mana, I will already have a big question mark if I will ever consider this card. Having it here for 3 mana, I really have to say that this card is completely overpaid and for his effect, for the stats, and I don't think we're gonna see it much play. Not one of the cards that that seems really appealing to me from Mage. And here, guys, the new legendary for Paladin. Bolvar comes back into Hearthstone. Bolvar is a 5 mana 1/7, a Divine Shield. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gain +2 attack. So Bolvar, we have seen him before in the Hearthstone, is now in Wild still. Now comes back as the Fireblood. Looking at the card, 5 mana 1/7 Divine Shield, and after friendly minions lose Divine Shield, you definitely need to support Bolvar to make him any playable. Because for 5 mana 1/7 Divine Shield, you don't want to play him. You need to have enough support to at least make him a 5 mana 3/7 Divine Shield, and then he's alright. Then he's definitely already, if you can already hit it once. I think Bolvar for a 5 mana 3/7 Divine Shield card, kinda comparable in the way of maybe Sunwalker, but I think a bit better stat line and 1 mana cheaper. It says that then the card can be really good. The only problem is, it is not that easy to always let it combine with a Divine Shield. You have to make your deck around Bolvar. Bolvar. Also the thing, yeah, that it doesn't really have taunt or anything. Like, it can be a little bit easy to ignore maybe. But if there are ways, you need to make this the mechanic work of adding additional Divine Shield minions. Where you of course have Tyrion, where you of course have Vicar Flame. There are some other Divine Shields like Squires around that might actually work great with Bolvar. Of course, there are a lot of synergies, but it might be a little bit hard for Paladin decks to work out. And effects like this always hurt a little bit your consistency. And cards can be really great, but if the consistency is not there, at some point people are just go away from the plan and not gonna like these cards anymore. I guess the Bolvar still has, I don't want to completely outrate the card because we have seen so little of the new expansion. And if there are just 1 or 2 not too expensive great Divine Shield minions, I think Bolvar can actually really make it. I think then there is a lot of synergy if you just hit it once. There is great potential. But otherwise, it might just hurt the consistency a little bit too much of your Paladin archetype. Light Sorrow, new Paladin weapon. Light Sorrow, 4 mana 1/4. After a friendly minion loses Divine Shield, gains +1 attack. Well, where Bolvar already had the problem of, well, hitting it one time might be hard. Well, this card makes it even harder, because if I hit it once, I'm still not happy. Because I want at least to hit it twice, and then the weapon, I think, can be alright for 4 mana 3/4. Only thing is, I have really high doubts, and I don't think this card is gonna be any good for Paladin. 4 slot is really filled. You have 3 silver, great weapon. You have other 4 drops that are already really great. Super questionable weapon in the way of can we make it work, and it is even requiring more synergy than just Bolvar on itself with how much you need to do it. It's gonna hurt your deck way too much. I think that is a weapon that we are not gonna see much play, and that we can get some great dust value from, guys. And here, another new Paladin card, a rare card. Also, I already revealed this one for people that follow my YouTube channel or me on Twitch. You already have seen me revealing this card, Howling Commander. As I said, I really like the card. I think it is a really cool card and a really good card for Paladin. 3 mana 2/2, Berserker, draw a Divine Shield minion from your deck. So with the Howling Commander, it basically says Battle Cry, draw a Tyrion, Battle Cry, draw your Wicker Flame, or any other Divine Shield minion that you're gonna play in your deck. It has 2 cards I can really compare it with. It has the comparison for me to Arcanologist, where that also draws you a secret from your deck. Stat line versus Arcanologist is probably the best. It's probably like one of the best cards in the game. So totally not on that power level. Stonehill Defender reminds me a little bit on 3 mana 2/2. Draw yourself a taunt minion. Here we draw a Divine Shield minion, or where Stonehill Defender is discover a taunt minion. Here we draw a minion, so it is from your deck. But in a lot of times, drawing from your deck is sometimes even a better concept than discovering, just to get your power cards. If you are at turn 7, well, let's play this card and then have the potential of drawing. And you know you're gonna draw, for example, Tyrion. You exactly know what you're getting. This information is so important. Yes, Stonehill Defender is a really power card. Stats-wise, Stonehill Defender is better. But there are also ways where this card can work better, just with the information part. You can play Stonehill Defender and not get the Tyrion, and it might become really hard. Here you have the consistency of, yes, I will get my Tyrion once I play it at turn 6, 7, and Tyrion is one of the best cards in the game. So the fact that you can play Tyrion on turn 8, always, for example, can be really good. I don't think it's really going to be a card yet that you want to play 2-offs in your deck, because of the effect that there are not that many Divine Shield minions that I want to run in my Paladin. You can of course play Wicker Flame and Tyrion, but then already playing 2 of these will make it probably too much. So then I will just put in one of these. But I think this is more of a card that yeah, people are not really so flashy about here. But that is definitely already really good, that you can just put in your current mid-range to control Paladin decks as a one-off to get this consistency. Getting a draw mechanic in Paladin. Paladin is not really having a lot of draw mechanic. So a draw mechanic for Paladin is definitely something they will like. And hey, it's not a 4 mana card, it's a 3 mana card. And next class we are going for is the Priest. We know really little about Priest. We have seen one card before with the AoE Lifesteal card for 2 mana. But that's all we know for now. So the whole Priest concept, it is still a big question mark for us. What we now have seen is another new spell for Priest. Eternal. Discover a friendly minion that died this game. Summon it. Well, guys. Well, I mean, you don't really have to think too much from my perspective about this card. That it is actually a really, really strong card. 4 mana, discover a friendly minion that died this game. I mean, basically you for 4 mana you can just choose a little bit what minion you wanna discover to summon it. Besides already some great effects also regarding Death Rattle, regarding Barnes, what is kind of a Priest archetype that has been a lot around. We have seen it also with the quest. So that's even additional value just for 4 mana, having the ability to just discover a friendly minion. I mean, this is not maybe in turn 4 play, but do it at turn 10 when you have played 2 of your big boys and you get a Lyra back, you get a Ysera back. You get on whatever you want to play, guys. You just discover it back. Can even play double Ysera, man. If you play 2 of these and you only played Ysera, or you barnes your Ysera and you play 2 of these and you get 2 new Yseras. Like the cards like this are what can make decks really broken. Cards that have potential of just cheating on your mana so much that you have the potential for 4 mana to do stuff that normally cost you 9 mana. These are cards that are just that can make constructed decks really to a power level where it's hard for other decks to catch up with. So I see great potential for this card. There is no way this card is gonna be bad. There is always ways for this card to make it work. If it doesn't work in any current archetype, that might be maybe for the constructed side. It's gonna be hard to make it work. I think it will definitely see play. The card on itself, it's really powerful. And another new weapon here, joining, there are a lot of weapons out of the Frozen Throne. This time we are having a rogue weapon here. A rogue weapon, and 3 mana, 3/2 weapon, Shadowblade. Battle Cry, your hero is immune this turn. So, just directly saying, we might just for the first time have a rogue weapon here, guys, in the set. We actually have a rogue weapon that I'm like, hey, that rogue weapon might actually be playable. So, just looking at the card, there are a lot of 3 mana, 3/2 weapons. We of course have the Varix, what is 2 mana, but we also have 3 mana weapons, like Eagle Hornbow, like the Rallying Blade for Paladin. There are a lot of weapons around that are already kinda alright. What I think makes this can make this card really good is that for Rogue and weapon concept it has even more potential, with of course buffing potential of Deadly Poison, but also just in general. I kinda compare this card in a way to Deadly Poison. Maybe it's not directly the right way of looking at this card, but Deadly Poison I see as a 3 mana card. Because you make your dagger and then you Deadly Poison it and you have a 3/2 weapon. So I could really compare this card to the Deadly Poison in that way, of really similar 3 mana 3/2. But I think I like the mechanic of your hero is immune this turn. Rogue, there is one weakness of Rogue of Valera, and that is definitely that there is no lifesteal, life gain. Rogue has 30 lives, and that's where it ends. That's where the story ends. There is just only 30 lives. So having a weapon that you don't lose life on can also have some good potential. And we should not underestimate the fact of 3 mana 3/2 weapons already being good. Nowadays Paladins and Hunters are running it just to go 2 for 1. There are a lot of 3 HP minions, like all the Mage minions with the Arcanologist. All the Murlocs are having 3 HP, like the War Leaders. There's just a lot what you can kill also with the 3 attack currently. I can see some potential just for this weapon on itself. Maybe we will see some more with Rogue that can also synergize with this. But the card seat's alright for me. It might be a little bit hard for Rogue to fit it in, since it doesn't fit any of the current archetypes. But on itself, the card seems alright for me. And here we got the Leeching Poison. So a rogue spell this time. Give your weapon a lifesteal. So now we already have seen where I first were like, well, that's why would I ever play that card? Now we at least have seen some weapons, and I can see a little bit of the my thoughts behind that. But a 2 mana card just to give a weapon lifesteal. Let's say you hit it and you gain lifesteal for 6, then you play in 2 mana heal 6 card. But you play a card, so you lose a card, so the value perspective is really getting you behind. These are cards that I don't want to play in my deck. It's just hurting your deck. Questionable card in your deck. You lose in a lot of ways. It's a card that you don't gain enough value from to run it in your deck because you lose a spot. Nah, gaining a weapon lifesteal. I mean, I want a weapon for Rogue that already has lifesteal on itself. I don't want to pay one of my cards. You don't want to run cards like this. In the best case, it's an Holy Light. But then you need to have it on the weapon, so it's even a questionable Holy Light. And Holy Light is already a card that I will not play. So I think this is one of the cards you just hope you are not gonna get in your pack. And otherwise, a common discard, guys. It's alright. And the next legendary is the Shaman legendary. Moorabi, the Shaman legendary out of the Frozen Throne. 6 mana 4/4. Blizzard has something with 6 mana 4/4s for Shaman, guys. They keep getting this 6 mana 4/4 legendaries. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. This also counts towards your opponent. So if you freeze an opponent's card, you also gain a copy of that card, so you can steal cards from your opponent. There is definitely some potential in this card, in the way of, well, there are ways to get good value from, but then the freeze mechanic has to be really strong in Shaman. But this is still something I really question, because we will go later to 2 or 3 new cards from Shaman, and they all got also a new way of adding freeze to Shaman, because the only tool for Shaman was really Frost Shock, and, well, maybe Glacial Shard, what was an elemental card that you can also run, of course. A card that is 6 mana 4/4 that is even questionable, this card is even requiring you to pay more mana for it, because it's not a turn 6 card. You play in 6 mana 4/4, well, your opponent is just gonna laugh and be like, what are you doing here? You need to pay this at turn 7, turn 8, turn 9, combined with other freeze cards to really make it work, and then you gain additional value. But Shaman has already great ways to gain additional value with cards like Spirit Echo, so I'm really not sold on this freeze mechanic. The freeze mechanic really has to start from 0. Of course, you can play it against certain decks. You can play it against Freeze Mage, and hey, all the frozen minions are again here for me, guys. So there are ways that it can be a counter interactive part, but yeah, is that gonna be consistent enough to run it in your deck? I have big questions about that. Let's also go a little bit towards the other freeze cards to get a little bit better feel of this. But the freeze mechanic, it really hard to get from. It really has to start from 0. For now, I'm really worried about this card, and I think Shaman gets here another 6 mana 4/4 legendary that is just not gonna make the cut. Well, and here we have one of them, and here is a good example why I am a little bit worried about the freeze mechanic. Cryostasis, 2 mana Shaman spell. Give a minion +2/+3 and freeze it. I mean, there are 2 ways where this card is a little bit strange, because, well, you kind of want to freeze your opponent's card, but then you give it +3/+3, so that's like, nah. And you freeze you wanna buff your own minion, but then you freeze it. So it has 2 parts that are just working a little bit against each other. We have seen the Shaman weapon that destroys a frozen minion. So yeah, that might be like, hey, we can buff our opponent minion and then we can remove it, but you have to pay a lot of lives also. I really have big questions about this card. It's a similar card as what we have with the Warlock card, where you give your opponent a mana crystal. Like the effect of like giving a minion the effect of making it stronger, but having to pay something for it. These are not the ways you want to make free Shaman work. If there is a way for free Shaman to work, they have to gain some really good freeze cards, in my opinion, to really see it. And this is not one of them where I become really exciting about. I see more potential for cards like Glacial Shard that are cheap, that are freezing minions, and hey, then something can work. But really, guys, Shaman with freeze effect, it really has to start from 0, because there is just almost nothing in the set that already supports it. And here another new Shaman card. So Shaman already gaining quite some cards, already getting quite a good feel on what Shaman is going to be. 5 mana 2/7. Voodoo Hexxer. Freeze any charger damaged by this minion. So in some ways it's comparable to the Ellie Armorsmith of a 5 mana 2/7 taunt with an effect. Freeze any charger damaged by this minion. So this, well, it is kind of designed that there is potential for a free Shaman to work. This is an alright card in that way. But yeah, freezing any character damaged by the minion. So there is definitely ways for this happen multiple times. This is actually some reasonable synergy with the legendary that we already saw. So if you play this at turn 5 and you play Moorabi at turn 6 and then you freeze a minion, you gain your opponent's minion. So this card definitely gives me some potential. On its own, the card is alright. Being enough for free Shaman, I don't think so yet. But this card is one of the cards that, hey, I see the potential of this freeze shaman archetype that Blizzard is pushing a little bit, out of the Frozen Throne. Of course, really logical with the Frozen Throne behind it. So this card is alright. 5 mana, 2/7 taunt is fine. In a way of it needing to have some other synergy. 5 mana, 2/7 taunt is probably on itself not really the best, but you can get away with it. But you only want to get away with it if there is other reasons to play it, and well, then there has to be good enough freeze mechanics for Shaman, and then I can see this card being played. But let's wait a little bit. Some cards are a little bit hard to evaluate, not knowing what other cards can be. So this card is really open for me. It's really open of, it can be, we cannot even see it at all, or it can be a card that might be a silence card getting into the Shaman archetype and just doing a pretty solid job. And now we are going to Warlock, and where Warlock is definitely the class that has suffered the hardest in Un'Goro. Warlock has been the class that was almost not seen any playing constructed. I see where Warlock might actually come back, guys. Maybe the Frozen Throne is the moment for Warlock to shine again, because they just gained Defile. And when I saw this card, I was so hyped. I have been in Control Warlock main for a long time, in the handlock times, in the Reno lock times. It was one of the decks that I was a little known for, that I was like enjoying a lot. When I saw this card, I see already the great potential of this card, and the great potential of a Control Warlock getting back in the game. Because this card is sick. This card is sick. Defile. 2 mana. Deal 1 damage to all minions. If any dies, cast this spell again. Cast it again. So, what a removal tool does Warlock get here? Warlock dealing 1 damage to all minions, also to your own minions. But if anything dies, you cast it again. So if you are facing an opponent's board and there is a 1 HP minion on the board, well, then this card becomes suddenly a 2 damage AoE card. If there is a minion on the board with 2 health, it becomes a 3 damage AoE card. So the way that this card stacks is insane for 2 mana. And don't forget, there's also ways for you to make sure the card is even becoming stronger. You can, once you're having 1 or 2 minions on the board, you can make smart trades to make the number of that is missing on the board. Let's say there are a lot of 1 HP minions and a lot of 3 HP minions. You can make the trade your way that one of the minions goes to 2 HP, maybe even your own minion going to 2 HP, and then the card just really stacks. So I think we are getting a great removal tool here for Warlock. This card makes me really exciting. We have seen really little. Once I saw the Warlock Legendary, I was like, oh, come on, not this discard mechanic again. I'm not a big fan of this card. This card is a really frustrating mechanic, in my opinion, it's just really frustrating for your opponent, also for yourself to play it, because of the inconsistency of what is getting discarded, and always having to need to high roll it a little bit. Defile, man, I am so excited about this card. The way of this removing, the way it works against token decks, the way it can work against aggressive decks, the way it is one of the best removal tools for the early game and one of the best removal tools for the late game. The card only costing 2 mana. I can talk a long time, guys, about this card, and it's also a really skill card, because you need to make your minions so, or you may need to make your opponent minion so the effect goes again, so it casts again, and so it removes everything from the board. But it's also a really skill card to play around, because this is a card, guys, if you are messing up a little bit in your trading, or you're not respecting Defile, it can just be completely a disaster of removing your whole board. So the punishment of not respecting this card is really high. I love the card, I love the design, I love the skill intense aspect of the card. Guys, give me Defile. So now we are having Defile behind us, guys. We can take a discard that I am like not so excited about. Sanguine Reveler, 1 mana 1/1. Destroy a friendly minion and gain +2/+2. Well, I think Warlock, where the card on itself, hey, we can maybe make a 1 mana 3/3, but you always have to kill at least a 1/1 for it, so it's kind of a 1 mana 2/2 in that way. Questionable 1 mana 2/2. There are already kind of a lot of cards that do this quite well for Warlock, so I don't think this is an effect that Warlock necessarily needed, even it is alright for Warlock. What Warlock really needs for the Zoo archetype to really become better is again to gain buff mechanics. What Warlock is really suffering from is that Abusive Sergeant is nerfed, that Power Overwhelming went too wild, that all the buff mechanics, and also the way of it just having no comeback anymore. The openers of other classes are just insane currently. People are opening with a pirate, they have a patches on the board, and now it's your first turn, Warlock. Your opponent already has 2 minions on the board sometimes. Druids can cheat on their mana. Shamans have really a little bit cheat mechanic that they can play Jade Claws, Maelstrom, but also use that overload mechanic so well. A lot of token decks are having so much early synergy that Warlock just has not. They just don't have it, and that doesn't make this card any playable. You need to use it with X. Like, you need to destroy cards that are having a death rattle mechanic where actually you are cheating. Zoo had it back in the day where they had Moorabi Egg, and Moorabi Egg was the big cheat card for Zoo, where they could Power Overwhelming it, where they could buff it, and suddenly a 4/4 became on the board. Well, we are just missing. We are just missing a little bit. You now have to play maybe the 3 mana Egg, and there it can be alright, and I can see it. So there are definitely opportunities for the Warlock to work in that way, using it with the Egg, but you go really slow with your Warlock deck. You're almost not a Zoo anymore if you have to play it like we play now our Egg and we destroy it and then we make a stronger minion. I think what you need is if we play the Egg, we buff the Egg, we make a value trade with the Egg, we then eat the Egg. Something like that. We need some buff card for Zoo. We need a spell, kinda, maybe it doesn't even necessarily need to be as good as Power Overwhelming, but something that just can really make these power turns so Zoo is able to catch up with the other aggressive token decks. New Warlock, or the new Warrior card. So we have seen a lot of Warrior. There have been a lot of Warrior cards that are leaning more towards a new Control Warrior archetype. And here's another one. Bring it on. That is what Garrus likes to say. Bring it on. Well, what do we bring on? We bring the armor on. Gain 10 armor for 2 mana. Wow, that's quite a lot of armor, isn't it, guys? And reduce the cost of your minions in your opponent's hand by 2. So, damn. Well, I like this card, guys. I'm not sure if it's gonna find end of play, because the effect of reduce the cost of minions in your opponent's hand by 2. It can really be something that you might not be too happy with, but in the other side, this is also something that Warrior not always does, mind. Of course you don't play this card at turn 2. You can play it in a way later stage and really make this Control Warrior, Value Warrior, almost Fatigue Warrior deck a thing. And I actually see good potential. There is also some hidden synergy, of course, that you can bait, like, yes, you make all the minions cost 2 less, but hey, if you have a Brawl in the hand, well, please play everything you have. And so I also like this card. It's kind of a really high skill card that is not really seen in the card of, well, we gain 2 mana, but it's a skill card on when do you want to play it yourself to not hurt yourself too much, but for your opponent, how do I react to this card because of can we play into it? Warrior has some of the best removal tools, so we have to respect it. And what I just really like, I really like cards that are really benefiting yourself, but also having an effect that are helping your opponent. Like gaining 10 armor for 2 mana is really good, but then also the effect of doing something for your that is more beneficial for your opponent. I like these cards a lot that are they really give a lot of enjoyment for me to the game, to run cards like Bring It On. So I think also in a constructed warrior deck, I think it can really actually make also some good work. If you can make so the only problem for warrior decks currently is the Jade Druid. So I see a lot of potential in a format where you can ban Jade Druid, you play a warrior deck that is so control heavy, and then warrior has the mechanic to like fatigue every deck and outvalue every deck, I think. So I think there is just a way too big issue for warrior that the Jade Druid is around, but if that one would not be there, I think that cards like this, oh man, it's so great to play. You have some synergy with Dirty Rats, with Brawls to really cheat on this, and maybe not to play 2-offs from this, but hey, I really like, I hope this card's gonna work, because the card looks kinda exciting for me. And well, where we already saw Bring It On, the next one, This Man's Hand. So you think that sometimes warrior cannot fatigue anymore? Well, now we have the card, guys, that can go infinite. Now a warrior, after the Jade Idol being revealed for a Jade Druid, now warrior also has the mechanic of infinite value. We are never gonna fatigue. Shuffle a copy of your hand into your deck. So the way that the infinite mechanic can work is if you play a 2-off of this card of the Desmond hand, if you just make sure you always play this card when you have the second Desmond hand in your hand, you can shuffle another one in your deck, and once you're having 2 of them again, you play 1 of them again, you shuffle a new one in your deck, and so the mechanic keeps rolling and keeps going, and you will never fatigue. So that really makes a totally new archetype again possible for warrior. Warrior can now be the fatigue warrior. It is not even close on the same level as the Jade Druid. Again, for this archetype to really make work, Jade Druid has to go away. So in tournament formats where you can maybe make a ban, then it can really pun it, or it can really be something. But well, there isn't really the fatigue warrior. It's just now you can really play your fatigue. Fatigue warrior has been a fatigue deck that was already around from the start because of the great control tools the fatigue warrior has. And well, this can really make his own archetype. Now you just don't need win condition anymore. You just don't lose. So if you don't lose, suddenly at some point of the game, well, your opponent either gives up or you win. So you can just play all the cards in your warrior deck. Just make sure you don't lose. Play your removals, play armor cards, play stall cards, and that way you are just making sure you're not gonna lose. And that way the Desmond hand might find play. Games are definitely gonna be long with the cards with that archetype, but hey, these are definitely also really satisfying decks to sometimes play. And we'll see how this will all go all the way. But definitely a card you should look out for. New card also for the warrior, a little bit of a different one than the 2 we once saw before. It's a 1-drop, and 1 mana 1/3. We already have seen the 1-drop as a mech that had a similar stat line. Now it is the Berserker. 1 mana 1/3. After you play a minion, deal 1 damage to it. So kind of like this card. It's not so obvious as directly, but dealing 1 damage to your own cards is for a warrior sometimes actually a good thing. Play this and coin your Acolyte next turn. Nice. We gain a card draw. And the stat line on this card is pretty good. I mean, a 1 mana 1/3 is a little bit of a scary stat line in the way of there are just a lot of 1 mana 1/3s, and it can bring some of the better traits maybe for warrior. If it's gonna be just good enough, I'm not sure about. The 1-drop, of course, warrior has known, so having a 1-drop together with the Warwicks can be really good. If for trading purposes, if there is a really aggressive meta, you will maybe like to play the Berserker. It just has some great value, and you can also play this as a 1-mana 1/3 maybe, and it kinda might be alright. What I'm really hoping for, that you can't really see in this card and that you can't really see in the set yet, is a Tempo Warrior deck. I have been playing last year a lot of Tempo Warrior, where you play with Battle Rage, what is your big reveal, but where you play with also the Flooding Berserkers, but just with a lot of mid-range synergy. I really hope for a Tempo Warrior to get back, and that this is a card that will fit really well in Tempo Warrior. It was Tempo Warrior was playing Surfindi as the 1-drop just to give a little bit better synergy. The 1 damage that you deal to new minions can actually be a good thing. So I can see in Tempo Warrior maybe getting fine into play. I just don't know if that will ever be a deck that will ever be on the same power level as Pirate Warrior currently. But that is that's something that I secretly hope for with this card too. We haven't seen that much yet, so we'll know what is coming up in the next cards for Warrior. Alright, and here the new card, or a new legendary, another prince. We already have seen the 2-drop prince, we have seen the 3-mana prince, where both of them are requiring you to not play 2-drops and not play 3-drops. Now we have the Prince Valanar that is a 4-drop 4/4 and requires you to not play 4-drops. When I saw this card, I was like, whoa, that is really bad. I don't say this often, but I was reading this card and I saw this card, and I out of my mind, I started to not even read the battle cry directly of you don't have to play 4-drops and think about what decks call it work. I just started to read the card as battle cry, or just as a 4-mana 4/4 lifesteal taunt. And I was like, I won't even play that. I'm not even gonna play a 4-mana 4/4 with lifesteal and taunt. That's just a 4-mana 4/4 that, yeah, you heal for 4 with, and that's it. Maybe alright, maybe kinda decent, but I don't think I will play it in any constructed deck. It just doesn't have the power level. And that even... So, with even that already in mind, another really big negative effect of not playing any 4-drops in your deck. I mean, come on, guys, and not playing any 4-drops is a really big punishment. Like, okay, you don't have to put it into your Paladin deck that has a lot of 4-drops. There are probably decks around. Maybe like Rogue, I guess, has some synergy of not playing 4-drops. Warrior, maybe. I don't know. Maybe some decks that have a little bit of a problem with healing. I don't know. Warlock, Rogue can think about that. But the effect, I mean, I want to get a big beneficial effect of not playing 4-drops. Just getting lifesteal and taunt just on this card. I mean, it's a little bit of a joke for me to have a legendary 4-drop that doesn't really have this beneficial effect of 4-mana 4/4 lifesteal taunt. Like, I just don't even want to play it for that, even if I could play 4-drops. So yeah, the card is, this is one of the... I am a little bit worried about this whole Prince mechanic. Like, all the Prince cards are not really... The 3-drop seems alright for me, but all these Prince cards are not really seeing for me any much positive effects. Maybe you can make a Prince deck. You just play all the Princes. You play the Prince 2-drop, you play the Prince 3-drop, you play the Prince 4-drop. You're not able to play any Prince drop or any 2, 3, 4-drops anymore. But hey, you got your Prince deck. And you just fill it with 1-drops. Hey, wait! You can play maybe Quest Hunter. If you play Quest Hunter with all the 1-drops and you fit in the 2-drop, the 3-drop, and the 4-drop Prince, then actually they might find some play. Hey, maybe guys, I just thought the boss broke a deck here. Just in 1 second. Make your Prince deck in your Quest Hunter deck. You play only 1-drops and you have a 2, 3, and 4-drop as your... oh my god, that might actually not be so bad. Actually, because the 2-drop fits really well into the Quest Hunter, huh? The 2-drop fits also really well. Well, I guess you can play this card if you really want to, and you want to make your Prince Valanar work too. There we go, guys. So here we go. I give you a great concept for your Prince cards. Play Quest Hunter, and then it might... then I will maybe not advise you Prince Valanar, but the 2 and 3 drop become kinda good. So there you go. We found some way to make it work. Alright, so going a little bit away of these Prince cards, guys, the new legendaries, the new neutral legendaries that are coming into the set. A card I'm actually really excited about is Corpsetaker. 4 mana 3/3, Corpsetaker Battle Cry. Gain taunt if your deck has a taunt minion. Repeat this for lifesteal, Divine Shield, and Wind Fury. I like this card a lot, and I think the card is also pretty strong. I think this card is really strong for specific archetypes. The 2 classes I'm looking most forward for this card are, of course, Shaman and Paladin. Where I am pretty sold on this card can be really good for Shaman. I also think that it has good potential for Paladin to work. Corpsetaker, 4 mana 3/3. For Shaman, play Alakir. And you just gain your baby Alakir. I mean, if you just play Alakir in your deck, you can now already have a 4 mana 3/3 that has taunt, has Divine Shield, has lifesteal, and Wind Fury. You just have to make sure you're not gonna draw your Alakir yet. But with that potential, you just have a really strong card to make work. You can also play it as a 2-off. So that makes it even better. You might want to add some extra consistency, but the value you gain, and I think this is something that a lot of decks need to run nowadays. Some decks are having great late game, they have some great early game, but they are missing a little bit the mid game that can 1 punish the aggro decks and 2 punish the control decks. And this card has great potential. As a 4 mana 3/3 with healing potential, with a Divine Shield, and Divine Shield is a good one for winning the value game. Having a really hard win game potential of Wind Fury, and having the taunt mechanic, I can see this card, it does a lot for 4 mana. It really does a lot for 4 mana, especially for Shaman. Looking at Paladin, it is kinda in a way comparable to Wicker Flame, where Wicker Flame Burn Vessel will now be a lifesteal card, and will already have the Divine Shield. It's just a 4 mana 3/3 Wicker Flame. Maybe there are gonna be some fancy ways for Paladin to make the Wind Fury mechanic work. Of course, we also have like Tyrion. There might be some other lifesteal cards coming into for Paladin. Or you can add additional lifesteal cards towards your Paladin decks, and then it can be good too. Adding the Wind Fury effect for Paladin might be a little bit too hard. You can play some neutral cards with Wind Fury, but they are pretty bad for now, I think. So that might be not doable for Paladin. But just playing 2 additional Wicker Flames for 4 mana 3/3s might be a really good effect for just a taunt Paladin or a Divine Shield Paladin mainly. So I can see this card working good for Paladin, but I definitely see great potential for Shaman. Shaman having a 4-drop with Divine Shield, with lifesteal, with Wind Fury, you just gain your own Alakir. You can now play almost 3 Alakirs in your deck, where it only is missing the charge effect, but hey, we also pay 4 mana less for it. It just needs to maybe have a little bit more consistency, because if you draw your Alakir, well, then suddenly this card doesn't have all its effects anymore. There is no... it doesn't work anymore because they have to be in your deck. But then we need to maybe add some additional Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Wind Fury minions. Maybe Wind Fury not that important, but especially Divine Shield minions. We'll see how this fight play, but I like the card. I really like the card a lot, and I definitely see good potential for this card. If there will maybe either be a little bit more lifesteal mechanic available for Paladin and Shaman. Bonemare, a new neutral card, a new common neutral card, and I feel this one is a little bit under the radar, where this one didn't really get the attention. This card was not revealed by anybody, but it was a little bit hidden in a video from Blizzard. And you should not underestimate this card, because this is actually a really insane value card. When I just a neutral look on it with a 7 mana 5/5. What 7 mana cards that are not having the direct stats need are strong battle cries. Well, hello. Battle cry, because death rattle effects on 7 mana cards are just too slow. Often they are just too slow. But then 7 mana 5/5 battle cry give a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. Where I think this is gonna destroy actually almost the arena meta. I think this card is... I don't know, man. It's just a nightmare for every arena deck, or for arena in general, in my opinion. I even see really great potential for constructed decks. You just add an additional Blessing of King. You just play in 3 mana 5/5, Battlecry, give a Blessing of King to your minion, plus taunt. That's how I little bit read the card. So, I think with a 3 mana 5/5, given a friendly minion +4/+4 and taunt. So it's a little bit of a better Blessing of King. It is a Blessing of King available for every class. So every class is able to play it. Battle Cry of buffing a minion, guys, is really strong. You have a weak minion on your board. Your opponent has a mediocre minion. Your opponent has a 3/3 or 4/4 on the board. Well, now your 1/1 suddenly becomes a 5/5. You make the value trade with your 5/5 in the 3/3. You gain taunt on the card, so it even becomes annoying. And you summon a 3 mana 5/5. That's kind of how I read the card. It's a way better Hancho. Way better. It's incredibly much better. This card is really strong. This card is going to be a nightmare really for arena. I think it's really going to be a nightmare. Because every deck can play it. You have to always respect this card in a way. So it might actually... I actually think it already is going to get really fast the fledgling nerf in arena. To be honest. Because I think this card is really insane. As a common arena card. And I think just in constructed, I think this is going to be a card that it can make some constructed archetypes really possible. Some mid-range archetypes with a potential of buffing to also keep the control decks a little bit in check. This card is really good. This card is really good, guys. It's really, really good. So be cared. Bonemare is coming. And here the last card, guys. The last card that we have to reveal. The last card that... that is in here so far that that we have to reveal is the Snowflipper Penguin. Aww. Aww. Snowflipper Penguin. So, yeah, what to say, guys? Doesn't he look cute? Doesn't he look cute? Well, I actually think it's a little bit of a power creep of Wisp, actually, because it being a beast. It actually has some good potential also, because there are some decks that just need this beast on the board before other things happen. Druid needs it a little bit and Hunter needs it a little bit. If the Druid... I mean, the Raven is already a really strong card in the current token beast decks. I think the Penguin is actually a really good card for it, or can actually really work into it. If you play this as a 0 mana card, you buff it as an with the mark of Yashar, or you have additional beast synergy there. Also in Hunter, where you can of course stack your Hyena with it, you activate other beast mechanics, make it a poison with your Razor Maw. There's actually a lot of hidden synergy that I think is really beneficial, because this card is a beast. And beast decks need this cheaper card to also work. So it is actually a good card. You might directly think of the Wisps, but this being a beast is I was always already thinking of, well, will there ever be a 0 mana 1/1 other archetype? But there now being a 0 mana 1/1 beast, it's actually it's actually really powerful, because beasts are needing this. Beasts are needing to have the cheap beast on the board. And there are some, of course, you have the effect of decks that can now really snowball even more. But it's an alright card, guys. I'm not sure if it's really gonna make it, because of course your deck is gonna become really cheap. But this card has good potential for Hunter and Druid. I would say for Hunter and Druid, this is gonna be so. It has some good potential to make the beast even become better. And guys, he looks good, guys. Come on, it's a nice card. Together with the Murloc Tiny Fin, together with the Alley Cat. Even Hearthstone becoming a little bit cute in that way. But yeah, we'll see how this is going. How the Penguin is gonna turn out. This was the review for me for today, guys. Below the comments, let me know what you think about the cards. Let me know what cards you think I am completely wrong of. Let me know what cards you are excited about. We definitely gonna follow it up with a lot more reviews. So thank you for watching and see you to the next one.